In this video, I'm going to talk about manifestation, specifically how you manifest the business and life you want. So recently I had a client asking me about my thoughts on manifestation. I have a science background and then later became a coach. And I feel like there's a lot of confusion and misconceptions around manifestation and what it means and how to use it really when you start actively becoming the creator of your life, which for a lot of us, when we step into creating our own business, like this is a huge part of it, right? Like we may be realizing or stepping into the belief that we do have a lot of power in creating what it is that we want in our life. Because if you have your own business, once again, you're creating something rather big for yourself. And so I think it kind of leads us into, let's say, the hole that will bring you to manifestation, and you may be wondering about it. And so I want to talk about it as far as my experience with it and my experience with my clients with using manifestation when it comes to creating your business and your life, right? So who am I? I am Dr. Kristin Hartjes. I am a former chiropractor and functional medicine practitioner turned health coach, turned business coach. I've been helping coaches and healers build businesses for the last decade. So I have a lot of experience with this work. And when it comes to manifestation, let's talk about what is manifestation. So I did a little searching and I looked in, this is the Cambridge Dictionary definition of manifestation. So to make something happen by imagining it and consciously thinking that it will happen. Okay. So I remember when, I don't know if you're familiar with the book, The Secret. There's also been a documentary called The Secret. But I remember coming across that book when it first came out, which was, I had to go and look. It was in 2006. Okay. At this point, I was actually still finishing up undergrad, which was in interior design. So I've come many different directions since then. And I remember it was like this tiny little book, and I remember looking in there and reading about manifestation in this book, The Secret. And I was like, wow, this sounds like so cool and yet sounds totally ridiculous and wacky. And I felt like this book was kind of painting the picture of, if you think about something and believe it will happen, it will magically happen. Okay. And I was like, okay, that sounds cool, whatever. And, kind of put it aside and went back to my life and, really didn't think about manifestation, or really, it wasn't even a part of my awareness, until I started my business, which was around 2014. And then I was working with some coaches to help me start my business, and I started hearing about manifestation a lot. I was introduced to like the science of getting rich and Think and Grow Rich, which are like old manifestation books, I think written, I'm not even actually sure when those were written, but those are like really well-known ones. And once again, talking about the importance of thinking and believing something will happen so that it will happen. And once again, when you're creating a business, like this is a big thing, right? Like you're creating something out of nothing. So this is an important concept to understand. But so when I was starting my business, I started journaling about what I wanted almost on a daily basis. And I really want to just kind of share my experience with manifestation for myself. So when I started my business, I was in a much different life situation than I am now. I had actually, after I graduated from chiropractic school, I had taken 2 jobs working as a chiropractor and a functional medicine practitioner under different doctors. Both of those positions ended up being not at all what I expected. They didn't end up working out. I was very disappointed. I wasn't making much money. I ended up moving back in with my parents and starting my own business, working out of a clinic doing chiropractic and functional medicine work. I had over $200,000 in student loan debt. Like I hadn't saved any money or really made barely any money working in the positions I had been working in. So I wasn't like in a great position, and I was single and living with my parents and okay, like, and so there was a lot I wanted to create for myself. Like I wanted to have a partner to build a life with. I wanted to have a house. I wanted to be able to travel and explore the world and all these things. Like, and so I started writing about what I wanted. I would do this on a daily basis. I would write it in my journal, and writing like my vision for myself and what I wanted for myself. And it's interesting because I mean, 10 years later, I've created all the things I wanted for myself. I'm actually in a position where it's like, I checked off all the things on that list. And of course, like through times, those things have maybe shifted a little bit because through life, by living life and having experiences, we get more clear on what we want and what we don't want through those experiences, right? So our vision continues to shift a little bit as we live and grow. But, you know, I just got back from my honeymoon trip to Spain. I just got married. I bought a house in the mountains, which you can probably see the views behind me, which is something I had been imagining. I've been doing lots of travel. In fact, last year we took 12 trips throughout the year. 2 of those being international trips. And it's just, I've created all those things, right? But what I want to be really clear about and what I want to talk about in this video is how did I do that through using manifestation and how I understand manifestation, okay? And how I've experienced it through my life. Because I started my business in 2014, and it wasn't until 2017, I would say, where things really started to shift for me. And I started to see like those momentum and things taking off and things actually manifesting into my life. And so one of the things that I think is a huge misconception is just if you think something and you believe something, it's going to magically happen and maybe happen really quickly. And for me, this was like 3 years later after I started my business and started really diving into manifestation that I started seeing things appear in my life. Things had definitely appeared before that and started changing before that, but this is where things like really the momentum started happening. And this is where I think a lot of people go wrong, especially with having a business, because they think things are going to happen super quickly. And it's just like, boom, and my business is going to magically take off and my life is going to magically change. And that isn't how it works. Like you have to give yourself the time for things to happen. And that's where most people, like I said, go wrong because they're like, it's not happening fast enough and they just give up. And so the biggest message I want to have for you is patience and consistency and sticking with things, because that is how you are going to create the business and the life that you want. Okay. So I want to dive into like the 4 big parts of manifestation from my experience as far as how do you start using this to create the business and the life that you want. Okay. So number 1 is having a vision for your business and for your life, because I think it's really important to have your business fit into the life that you want to create. So if you want location independence because of, you know, you want that in your life, like that's important, and knowing that as far as your business, right? So you want to get really clear on this. And I think it's really important to get clear on what you actually want versus what you think you should want based on society, based on what other people have, based on, you know, things that may not really be true deep down for you. And I will tell you, this has been one of my biggest lessons over the past 10 years of building my business and my life, because we are very conditioned to want certain things and to think that we need certain things to be happy and fulfilled. And a lot of that is a bunch of BS. Okay. So through the years, like this has shifted for me, and just kind of understanding, especially like my intentions behind things, and what really makes me happy, what really makes me feel fulfilled. And so thinking around this and really spending some time to kind of dive into that, I think is important. And some things that you want to be thinking about, like, is your values, right? Like your values and your mission and your purpose, as far as what you're creating in the world and what's important to your life and feeling fulfilled and feeling happy. Like, I think really knowing those things really makes a huge difference. Knowing how you want to feel, because anything we want to create in our life, it's because how we think it's going to make us feel. So wanting to create a certain amount of money, it's because of how you think it's going to make you feel. And I think this is another thing, like a lot of times when it comes to finances and money, like really thinking about the life that you want to be living and the things that you want to be doing and the experiences you want to have, and what amount of money is going to allow you to do that. Because a lot of people just throw out these random numbers and they have no idea why. And if you don't have a purpose behind those numbers, it's really not meaningful for you or for the universe, okay? So knowing what you want your day-to-day experience in life to look like that's really important as well. And what type of experiences do you want to have, right? Like, do you want to be traveling? Do you want to have a house in the mountains or a house in the city? You know, like what experiences do you want to have? Those things I think are really important, because knowing what you want becomes the compass for everything that you're going to do, okay? And for the actions that you're going to take, which is what I'm going to talk about. This is number 3. Action is number 3, but so I will get to that. But a lot of people think that manifestation means you don't have to take action and things are going to magically happen. And that is the biggest misconception. You have to take action to create what you want in your life. Some things may magically fall onto your lap, but that is rare, and I would say the exception to the rule. Like, typically we have to be taking action to manifest, okay? So the next piece is the belief piece, okay? And so when it comes to, let's talk specifically about your business. When it comes to creating your business, you want to think about, do I believe that I can create the business that I want? And knowing what that looks like, okay? Like having an idea. You may not know totally and have all the details worked out, but having an idea of what it is you want to create, and do I believe that I can make this happen? And knowing if yes, like awesome, okay. And I want you to like really check in with yourself, because this is also where a lot of coaches get stuck, because they do not believe they can make it happen. And a lot of this has to do with not having the clarity or the confidence necessary to believe that they can make their business happen. And this is a huge part of what I work on with my clients, because you have to have the clarity as far as knowing what you want and the steps to take, but you also have to have the confidence of, I can actually do this. I can actually help people. I actually have a good service to offer. I have something valuable to offer the world. Like, if you don't really believe those things, like how are you going to create the business, right? If you don't believe it, other people aren't going to believe it. Your potential clients aren't going to believe it. So this is really, the belief piece is probably the biggest work that we have to do when it comes to creating the business and the life you want. So if there's reasons why you don't believe you can make it happen, I would make a list of those reasons. And those are things that you need to work on the belief around. Maybe we need to stick certain things in place. Maybe we need to get certain clarity around like your program and who you're working with and how you're going to get clients. Maybe we need to start working on your coaching confidence and your skills so that you feel confident that you can help people. Like, we need to look at like, what are these pieces that are standing in the way of you believing that you can do this, okay? Because what happens is a lot of people will block themselves from doing step number 3, which is the taking action piece, if they don't believe they can do it, if they don't believe they can help people. Like, why would you want to go out there and get clients if you don't really believe that you can help your clients, right? Like, you're going to stop yourself from doing that. So this piece is really, really important. The other piece is being able to let go of knowing how everything is going to happen and what it's all going to look like and all the steps, because you have to be able to take action from where you're at right now and continue taking those actions without knowing the whole path. Because I often talk about it. It's like when you're driving in your car, right? You can only see so far in front of you in the road because of the horizon, right? And then as you drive further down the road, you can see further in front of you. But if you're like, I need to see the whole path to get from where I am now to get to, wherever it is you're going, the grocery store or whatever, like, you can't see the whole path from where you're at right now, right? You have to keep driving forward in your car to be able to see further ahead of you. So this is the same as far as manifestation and creating what we want. We have to be willing to take action and move forward without being able to see what the whole entire path looks like. And a lot of people get stuck with this too. Okay, so number 3 is taking action, okay? And there's a lot of trust that goes into taking action, trusting that if you take these actions, like, it's going to ultimately lead you to where you want to go. And the path there may look twisty, turvy, curvy. It may not be, a straightforward line. But we do have to take action to make things happen for us, right? Like, I didn't create the relationship that I want, or the business that I want, or the house that I want, or set up, trips and traveling by just sitting here and thinking about it and believing it's going to happen. I had to take a lot of action. Okay. It's a lot of work. Like, is it worth it? Yes, totally, 100%. But a lot of action has gone into creating the things I want. You have to put yourself out there. You have to do the things. You have to do it. You have to take the actions, right? So the other thing that I think is really important about this is learning how to use your intuition, because your intuition will guide you as far as what actions to take. And this is why I work in partnership with all of my clients. And I don't just tell them, go and do these things. There's some things that it's like kind of the nitty gritty of setting up your business, where it is more of like, we just need to do these steps. But when it comes to a lot of the, let's say, like, how to get clients and how to market and stuff, like, there's a lot of your intuition that goes into setting up the best way for you to do this. And that's why it's more of a partnership. So a lot of times we're guided or inspired to take certain actions, or we feel interested in certain things. And this is your intuition speaking to you, as far as guiding you, as far as what actions to be taking. And this is why when people learn to start a business from people who may not be totally aligned with them, or who are teaching them things that aren't aligned, and then they go and they're taking these actions, and someone's telling you, I did this, so you should do this. Often it doesn't work for people, because it isn't actually what is right for you. So we have to be taking the actions that are aligned and authentic and feel good and feel right for you. That's really where the next piece, where the magic can happen, as far as the manifestation and the universe meeting you part way to help you create what it is that you want in your life. Okay. So the actions should feel authentic. They should feel aligned. They will likely feel uncomfortable, because you have to get uncomfortable to create what you want in your life. That's just the way it is. Otherwise, you would just be staying right where you're at. So anytime we're creating something new for ourselves, it's going to feel uncomfortable, but it shouldn't feel yucky. It shouldn't feel icky. It shouldn't feel like out of alignment. It should feel exciting and probably scary. Okay. Like, when you think about building your business, it should feel exciting and scary. Like that's just the way it is, because you're going to feel fear anytime you're doing something new out of your comfort zone. Like, and that's okay. And I'm going to go back to this again. When it comes to taking the actions, start with where you're at. I was talking about this in the last step. Like you can't see the whole path, and you have to not worry about the future and what's going to happen. Like a lot of times people are like, oh, well, if I take this action, what if this happens? And then they stop themselves from taking the actions because they're thinking about like, oh, if I do this and this happens, then what, right? You just got to do it, take the action, let those things happen, and then you will figure out the next step from there. Okay. But if you're constantly thinking about, if I do this and this happens, then what, you will never take any action because you'll drive yourself crazy. This is how we get stuck in procrastination, overthinking, overanalyzing, analysis paralysis, all those things I like to talk about. So you got to take action without getting up in your monkey mind and trusting yourself. And this is where getting support as well. If you're working with like a mentor or someone that can help you, like when you take those actions, trusting that you'll be able to figure out what to do next or how to handle whatever happens based on the action that you took. Okay. So we have number 1, vision, number 2, belief, number 3, action, and number 4, this is where the magic of the universe comes in, and really the energy, right? Like everything is energy. So if we are aligning ourselves with what we want to create and we know what we want to create, we're giving, that's an energetic imprint, right? So can we then, like a magnet, draw the things to us by giving off that energetic imprint. All right. So, and how we do this is much less like, I want to explain it in a way that like makes sense. And it's not as woo-woo as we think, right? Like it's really just being open and saying yes to the things that come your way that are in alignment with what it is that you're wanting to create. Okay. So being open to saying yes to, I would say, invitations from the universe. So this is people and connections. And this is a big way of how we create that. Like the being open and saying yes, you're not going to get this and be available to it unless you put yourself out there in the world. And this is why the more connections we have, the more we put ourselves out there, the more we're open to that, which can be challenging as introverts, right? Because it's not like what we're naturally inclined to do. But the more you do this, the more you're making yourself available for the universe to throw things your way that are going to help you create what it is you want. So you can't just by like staying home and not doing anything and not putting yourself out there and not taking any action, you won't create what you want. You have to put yourself out there and be available to the magic of the universe, right? So saying yes to people and connections and opportunities and signs from the universe, right? Like this can be intuition or like things where you're like, ooh, that happened and that's kind of weird. And I've been thinking about that. Like, ooh, maybe that's a sign that I should do that thing. And this happens a lot. Like I see it all the time for my clients where when they start putting themselves out there, all these things start happening. And sometimes it takes a while to do that before you see it. But the more you create connections and let people know what you're doing, the more you'll start seeing things coming your way and like amazing opportunities to like team up with people or to go somewhere and give a talk or, all these different things start happening, which is where we're seeing the magic of the universe, like meeting you part way, right? But you have to make yourself available to it by putting yourself out there, by taking action. So these are the steps, okay? So we have vision, number 1, belief, number 2, number 3, taking action, and number 4, being open and saying yes to the things that are coming your way, right? So like when it comes to like even like the house that I'm living in, right? Like I had to take the actions. I have to go and look at the houses. I had to come and look at this house. Like, you know, it didn't just magically pop onto my lap, right? Had to make the money to put a down payment on the house, like all these things, right? So I want you to start thinking about like, this is really how you use manifestation to be creating the business and the life that you want. All right. So if you have any questions about any of this, definitely let me know. Leave me a comment and let me know, did you find this helpful? Does this make more sense when it comes to manifestation? Can you see like how you can actually start doing this in your business and in your life? Let me know in the comments. And if you found this video helpful, give it a thumbs up, share it with anyone else that you think might find it helpful. You can go ahead and subscribe to my channel if you want more videos like this. And if you want to dive deeper into the steps of creating a business, I have a training that I talk about that. I think it's the 5 steps to creating the business that you want, even as an introvert. So I will link it below this video. Go and check that out. And I want to thank you so much for joining me, and I will see you next time.